It's been partly exciting because of the opportunities, the possibilities coming with new technology that it affords us to do media, and actually Steve gave quite a few examples of the kind of media we're able to do now at a very low cost. You know, I was going to give a couple of examples, but I won't go to the site to show them, but of the kinds of coverage we've been able to do, for instance, with live streaming. Oh no. We need let somebody else deal with the paper towel issues. But just to say, that's key.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. You know, so for instance, we use livestream.com to cover demonstrations that otherwise would be absent in mainstream media. And, you know, our first was 2 years ago when we did live broadcasts from World Against War demos in Vancouver, Toronto, and Ottawa. You know, when the British MP George Galloway was banned from entering Canada last year, the Canadian Peace Alliance came to us for help, and we were able to, with some media partners in New York, hook them up so that he was live streamed, not just into the venue he was banned from speaking in Toronto, but to 12 other locations across the country. And, you know, these are just a couple of really small examples of the many things one can do now with access to the free technology. You know, we use a combination on a regular basis of technology like Livestream, Flickr, Twitter, TalkBox, and Babel, which is our discussion board, to cover events like the anti-prohibition rallies that happened across the country, or during the Olympics, to cover the extraordinary amount of activism and solution-based activism that took place on the ground there. And it was really completely ignored by the traditional media. That when it did report on what was going on in the social movements, focused on the story of you know, the typical story of a few rocks being thrown into a window in downtown Vancouver. So this problem of mainstream, well, actually, no, I'm going to skip this whole part. I'm going to go actually right into my opportunities for collaboration. The first of my three, so I know we want to get into discussion. So I think there are many opportunities right now for collaboration between media organizations. For example, before this conference began on Thursday afternoon, and partly thanks to the generosity of the organizers of this conference who booked space for us, there was a meeting of the Online Independent Media Alliance. This is a group that started about 5 years ago with a small number of organizations that included the Tyee, Briar Patch, This Magazine, and Rabble. And in Thursday's meeting, it expanded to include, I think it was in total 15 organizations, you know, including the Media Co-op Dominion, Citizenship, the Mark, Vancouver Observer, and others. So we met to explore opportunities for how we could work together to share technologies and tools, to cooperate on revenue-generating opportunities, like an advertising network, and to consider opportunities for cooperating on increasing the reach for each other's content. And this is an example of cooperation between a very small sector of media makers, but I think that there are many more possibilities to think out of the box in terms of the kinds of collaborations that can happen between both media, independent media organizations and other kinds of media organizations. And some of them actually is very much along the lines of what Becky was talking about. In relation to that, there are many innovative ways we could do journalism together, and I wanted just to throw out the idea of the possibility of pooling resources to do investigative journalism. And again, there's different levels of that. There's possibilities of doing innovative work like that among independent media, but also between some of the bigger media organizations, I think, and some of the research institutes in Canada, and maybe some of the unions. You know, we're in the dire situation in terms of the need for investigative journalism. And both these kinds of opportunities for collaboration and innovation have been taken up very successfully in the U.S. by what's called the U.S. Progressive Media Consortium. Now they came about 7 years ago with the goal to increase the sustainability and reach of progressive media in the States, and to make a serious move to change the political geography in the U.S. And they were very successful to that end. as we've seen, they were very much a part of the political change that happened to that brought Obama into power. And they've been very important in helping to create the space for the Huffington Post to become the kind of media organization it is there. And there's an interesting, they just published a book on the story of how they came together, which actually includes a lot of the similar kinds of graphs of the ecology of media organizations, and a book called Beyond the Echo Chamber, Reshaping Politics, Progressive Media Through Network Politics. So very much along the same lines of what Becky has been talking about. And the final opportunity I'd like to suggest we look at working on is the challenges we have before us at the federal level, both in terms of the regulatory changes that Steve and others have talked about over the conference. But I'd also like us to think, I'm hoping there's some other people in here who would be interested in thinking about how we can approach the law around charitable status in Canada. When I went to these, I've been going to these meetings of the Progressive American Media Consortium for the last few years, and I went there looking for tips on how to make a sustainable independent media in Canada. And what I found was, I wanted to know how to get over that funding hurdle to become large, successful organizations with paid staff, fully paid staff. And what I found was that each and every one of them had some kind of angel donor or foundation support. They made other items in the mix, but that was key. And that was partly possible because of the kind of charitable nonprofit status they have in the States with the 501c, which we don't have access to at all in Canada. And although the Walrus and the Fraser Institute have been successfully able to obtain charitable status, this issue of the notion of advocacy in relation to your ability to get charitable status in Canada is something that needs to be addressed. And I'm hoping something we'll talk about. So, thanks.